interest of intellectual honesty. The only problem is, and I said the same thing about discussing differences about races and genders, so this is something we're going to have to agree to disagree with.
Okay.
Sometimes, if intellectual honesty is the cost of a successful improvement of the state of humanity, then sometimes that just has to be made.
But again, the only problem that you run into there is you're no different on an ideological level. You're no different than a lot of the crazy groups that you yourself disagree with. And any reasonable, like if a rational robot would just pop out of the ground and be like, I need to choose a random thought pattern or whatever to agree with, he would have no objective reason for going with yours over any others, because you've decided that one of the acceptable methods of propagating your ideology is we're not going to use any kind of intelligence or anything at all. We're just going to herp derp.
It's no, come on.
It is. So like,
that's a measure. When I say we strike.
What is this link? Vaush claims he's trying to save Destiny from insanity.
It would definitely be the one over philosophy.
You don't, is that,
I think.
Hold on. If somebody's banned, it doesn't mean you can't watch her stuff. It just means you can't have them on stream. It's so sad that, like, I guess it's just all projection. Why does he never paraphrase my arguments well anymore? He just says like the craziest, dumbest shit. Always. It's not even close to what I said.
I know we talked a little bit about your earlier debates with Destiny, but out of your modern debates with Destiny, pick one. What do you think is a highlight? What do you think you could have done better?
It would definitely be the one over philosophy tube, I think, because of how stupid it was. Destiny was arguing that philosophy tube, Abigail, was a hypocrite and like destroying the left or whatever, because she advocated that people go on a renter strike in a way that implied that she also needed to go on a renter strike even though she makes a decent amount of money.
Why not at least summarize my position fairly? And we can go back and probably find my tweets or VODs. My issue is that she was going personally on a renter strike. If she wanted to encourage her audience to do it, then okay, fine. But she was going on a renter strike, claiming that her business had been harmed and she couldn't afford rent. And chances are, almost certainly, she makes more money than her landlord. That was my issue. But why not just...
Welcome back, great leader.
Why not say that? Why not actually state my problem, right? She's a top 1%er in the UK and she's going on a rent strike? Why? That was my issue. But... okay, I mean, it's kind of sad that he, like, every time he brings up any argument I've said now, he always says it, like, in the most ridiculous, like, way possible. Do you think that this reads a little bit disingenuously? My flatmates and I are writing to our landlord to tell him we won't be paying rent in April due to the pandemic. Here's a template you can use if you need to do the same, and a list of things to bear in mind. Good luck. You don't think that this person is, like, making it sound like they need to get, like, out of paying rent due to the pandemic? Ignoring the fact that they're literally doing this to somebody that is probably making far less money than they do?
I don't necessarily have an issue with people calling for a rent strike and using collective language and doing
Stop. That's not what we're talking about. Oh my God.
I do think that it's bad that they hide their income, though. I think that's the big definer here. I think that if you show your income, then I think that's totally
This is not the... What I'm saying is she is making it sound like she literally, like, won't be paying rent due to the pandemic, ignoring the fact that the landlord makes less than them.
Which is, like, I'm at...
Destiny, he literally conceded this in the debate. Oh, did he? I don't even remember. I would say that this is a trick into making somebody think that they're on their side. This is what I'm referring to. I think that my first statement is fair.
Side?
What?
Wouldn't she be on their side? I mean, she's a lefty. What do you mean is she not?
As in, has the same struggles, has the same class problems, has the same, like, problem affording rent, when that's not the case.
There is definitely an implication here that they can't afford their rent that I do find a bit unsavory. This is why I really wish they would show their income. But the general, like, we should do X language, I think is perfectly acceptable.
Stop. I don't think you made a compare. Hold on. I have to do this because I can't let you get the rhetorical wins. I'm sorry, because you're.
Why are you keep accusing me of rhetorical wins?
Because you are, because you're doing. No. You might not realize you're doing it, but I'm listening for it now and I'm hearing it more. Okay. Earlier, you used the comparison of Bernie Sanders. When Bernie says something like, "We need free healthcare, we need free blah blah blah," Bernie Sanders is not presenting himself as a fellow poor. In fact, I'm almost positive that I've heard Bernie Sanders say, I think word for word, the average American should have the same healthcare that I have in the Senate. I'm pretty sure he said that word for word. I think I've heard Bernie say that. So
That
you're
would be like the
comparing.
equivalent
So
of
stop.
showing your
Yes.
income
So
on
this is why I'm calling this a rhetorical one, because it's a disingenuous comparison. When Bernie Sanders says we need to do this, that's different. I don't think Bernie Sanders would come out and say we need to go on strike and stop paying our mortgage. I'm writing a letter to my landlord saying I'm not going to pay the mortgage. I don't think Bernie Sanders would fucking say that. That's what
Bernie Sanders impression.
That's what I'm talking about. You can try to divert, okay? But Abigail's tweet here.
Come on,
Abigail's
man.
tweet here. Abigail's tweet here is not comparable to Bernie Sanders' statement. Abigail's tweet here is a trick into thinking that she is on your side.
You are incredibly blinded by spite when it comes to your.
I don't think I've said anything spiteful. If I'm spiteful, I'm spiteful because of the number of people that exist on this earth that don't live their principles, but instead just talk the talk. That's what makes me spiteful.
Whether people live their principles,
Well, I
whether
do.
people's net actions contribute to positive
Okay.
utility.
Well, I think that people living their principles, I think will probably contribute to better net action. If you want to put on the kid gloves for that, that's fine. But I'm seeing a lot of bad faith there. If somebody who does a transparency report and doesn't list a single fucking fact or figure while constantly complaining that like, oh, sub-captions are making my business unprofitable, or oh, I'm going on rent strike with my fucking flatmates or whatever, then nah, I'm not going. What? Yes.
Top 1% in London is £300,000 a year. I guess it's possible that.
Oh, I didn't put London earners. I put UK earners. I don't know what the top 1% in London is.
Probably a pretty big difference, but
The good thing I put UK earners instead of London earners then. She might be in the top 1% of London earners, though. It's possible.
she lives in. I think the city kind of matters, but. Oh, it doesn't matter.
No, wait. So if somebody was like, are you the top 1% in America? You're like, hold on. I might be the top 1% in America, but I'm not the top 1% in LA, okay? What are you doing right now? Are you serious?
Not necessarily cutting lines with the top 1%, but the difference in America between making $100K a year in like Wisconsin versus making it in like New York, I think that's a pretty significant difference, yeah. Like if somebody was like, you make 6 figures, and somebody was like, yeah, it's $100K and I live in fucking Long Island, okay? I'm just trying to live. I think that's a pretty significant difference.
If you're a top 1% earner in the United States, you're doing really well, literally no matter where you live. And
Yeah, I'm clarifying that there is a 3 times difference between top 1% of UK earners and London earners. I think that's worth like pointing out. Let me get in the way of your hate train. No, that's fine. It's okay if you want to be non-specific to allow your audience to assume the worst possible thing. That's totally okay.
if I would have put London, would I need to find out what fucking neighborhood she lives in next? Like, what the
Like, imagine if Bernie Sanders said, we need a workers' revolution, and Destiny was like, Bernie Sanders, you're a millionaire. Why are you lying to your fans by suggesting that they need it as much as you do? Like that's.
This bothers me too because I've spoken out. He's so bad at paraphrasing. I've spoken out so many times against people calling Bernie Sanders a millionaire. I don't consider Bernie Sanders a millionaire. Real quick, this is something that kind of annoys me, but it's whatever. Wealth can be a function of your class, but wealth is also a function of your age. And a lot of people seem to like miss that. I think I've gotten pushback even on my own stream before. I don't think it's fair to call somebody a millionaire just because they have a couple $1 million. Like, if I take 2 people and one of them is like 72 years old and they have $2 million like saved up through a lifetime of retirement, that's way different than somebody who's like 30 years old and they have $2 million in their bank account. These 2 people are worlds apart. It's not even remotely close to the same thing. But for some reason, people see things where it's like, oh, they're millionaires. Like, okay, if you've been like conservatively saving your entire life, technically everybody will be a millionaire by the time they hit retirement. They'll have at least $1 million in the bank, right? If you assuming you save conservatively. But a person that has like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or $5 million even, by the time you're like 60, 70, 80 years old, is way, way, way different than somebody that has like $1 million by the time they're in their like late 20s, early 30s. I don't like using millionaire to describe like a retiree that has like a net worth that's in like that's like less than $5 million. I think it's just silly to call somebody like that a millionaire. Like that doesn't evoke like millionaire in my mind. Like, oh my God, that guy's a millionaire. Like, oh shit, like that dude must be really wealthy. It's like, no. He's like 70 years old. He's got a good pension and he's worth like $1.2 million. Oh, okay. Like when you call people, that's like when people call like 19-year-old girls that have like 2-year-old sons MILFs. It's like, no. Come on. No, come on. Destiny, I'm sorry, but you have definitely lost touch with money in my opinion. Well, you know what, Stephen V? Good thing that's just your opinion, my dude. Make sure to suck a fat one on your way out. Well, I won't ban you because it's YouTube chat, but. So Bernie Sanders isn't a million. Yeah, so like I wouldn't call somebody like Bernie Sanders, I wouldn't call somebody like that a millionaire. Like I think that technically because his book sales and everything went really well, he's worth $3 million now, but like, How old is Bernie Sanders? Bernie Sanders is fucking 80 years old. Somebody that's worth $3 million at 8 years old, I'm not gonna call this person a fucking millionaire. Like, it doesn't properly convey in common parlance what we mean when we call somebody like a millionaire. Like, this dude's a millionaire. Like, I don't know. Like, are you saying that it's common for people to save millions by the time you're 80? I'm saying that, like, if you are conservatively, hold on, let's do investment calculator. If you save very conservatively, it's not impossible. Like, it's relatively easy to have $1 million by the time. This is assuming you're working like a middle-ish class job, and you don't have to like struggle to pay your bills or whatever. Like, a lot of people can hit like $1 million by the time they're 70. But like, when you call somebody like a millionaire, that implies like a lifestyle. It implies a really high income. It implies like a class, right? Like, somebody that's like 70 years old with $1.5 million saved, that's not somebody that's living as like an ultra high class, like $2 million mansion kind of person or whatever, right? And I've given the same example 50 million times on stream. When we talk about millionaires, we're not talking about people that have $1 million in the bank when they're fucking 70 plus years old because it's their retirement nest egg. We're talking about people under the age of like, under the age of 30, under the age of 40 that already have like $1 million in the bank, right? These are like millionaires, right? Your life, when you have $1 million at age 25 is way different than somebody that's saved their whole life and has $1 million in retirement. These aren't the same things at all. I've said that over and over again because people attack Bernie and say, oh, he's a millionaire now. Bro, he's like 80 years old. What the fuck? You better have at least $1 million saved up. What the fuck?
Revolution, and Destiny was like, Bernie Sanders, you're a millionaire. Why are you lying to your fans by suggesting that they need it as much as you do? Like, that's literally the tier that it was on. So that's it's stupid.
He does that with others too. He never engages with them. He just vaguely gestures that the person is associated with you somehow, and because his community hates you, they will automatically hate that person. Yeah, Jesus. Oh, somebody's linking. This was the tweet that I got mad at, by the way. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this up. My flatmates and I are writing to our landlord to tell them that we won't be paying rent in April due to the pandemic. Here's a template you can use if you need to do the same. And a list of things to bear in mind. Good luck. Like, I don't remember what Abigail's income came out to be, but even if we estimated it very conservatively, she was still in the top 1,000, or I'm sorry, she's still in the top 1% of like all the earners in the UK. Why the are you asking for like rent forbearance? The fuck? Oh yeah, I think this was calculated using the absolute minimum for the Patreon, plus like tax, plus insurance, plus like Patreon shit, student loan. Yeah, oh yeah, ugh.
In it. Yeah, that probably would have been my favorite bit, I think. In terms of how I could have done better, honestly, I think a ton of my debates with Destiny around that time period were massively hampered by my belief that he was still sane. So much of the conversations I had with him were me trying to like reach out to him in some like weird...
In my opinion, when you... Okay, I always explain these. I'm sorry, I explain these every time just to make sure you understand. Because a lot of people will use terms like logical or whatever, and they just, I don't know what the fuck, they're just being dumb. But when I say these words, I'm being serious, okay? If you're going to say that somebody is insane, in my opinion, you need to demonstrate an inability for them to deductively reason. So let me give you an example. If I say, hey, Destiny, all cars are blue. Do you agree with that? And I say, yeah, of course. And then you say, Destiny, there is a Ford Explorer outside, and that's a car. Do you agree with that? And I go, well, yeah, of course. And you go, Destiny, wouldn't that make that car blue? And then I go, no. Right? Okay, well, hold on. There's a breakdown of the deductive, like, what? It logically follows, right? Usually when I start calling people like psychotic or insane, it's because that deductive faculty has broken down, okay? Like, you're insane, right? So in my conversation with BX Bullet, that was somebody that was acting insane, okay?
Protection.
No, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You have those extra layers of protection if you're firing blanks. But the point is that he was handed a gun that was supposed to be cold.
And
that's the whole
pointing
point.
at somebody.
Yeah, because he thought there was nothing in it. He thought it was empty. He thought it was dry firing.
If you or I were in that situation and we tried to make that argument that we thought that there was nothing in the gun, honestly, we probably would not be charged or convicted or go to jail.
If I was in a situation, if I was being instructed by somebody else.
Same thing with him. Like, he's not going to go to jail. He's not going to get convicted.
You're rambling. You're psychotic. You're rambling on random shit right now.
This is so weird of you to say that I'm rambling.
Because you're just saying so much random shit, and I don't even know where you're doing it, okay? If I'm on a set, okay, and there is a strict line of liability for who's going to be in charge or who's going to up if something, who's going to be f***ed up if something goes wrong? If, let's say there's an assistant director and a prop master, and they have 100% of the liability of the safety of those firearms, okay? Not only would I probably not clear the gun given to me by them, if I was one of them and I saw somebody clear a gun, I would smack the f*** out of them and I would say, don't touch my firearm. I'm responsible for what happens to this shit, so I'm going to clear it and I'm going to give it back to you, and if you touch it again, I'm leaving the f***ing set.
Why did you choose in your 40 years not to check the gun yourself?
What I was taught by someone years ago was, as I said, if I took a gun and I popped a clip out of a gun or I manipulated the chamber of a gun, they would take the gun away from me and redo it. The prop person said, don't do that, when I was young. And they'd say, one thing you would need to understand is we don't want the actor to be the last line of defense against.
Yeah, so this is what I was saying, is that like, when you look at these things, you have to look at this in terms of like liability. That's what I would say. Because you I'm not an actor. Okay? You have no concept of liability here. You're totally like in a whole other world. Okay? If the liability for a negligent discharge rests on two other people clearing the firearm, you better believe that they're not going to want a random dipshit actor racking the slide to see if shit works.
First of all, you're going on and on about something I never said.
You explicitly said, wouldn't you clear the gun? You said, wouldn't you clear? You asked, you told me.
The actor needs to clear the gun. I said the actor needs to see the gun cleared.
But that you never established.
I've always. You can go back to my old VODs and dissect them if you want. I have always.
Did you not literally?
I thought it was stupid. Hold on. I thought it was stupid how many gun industry people harped on the fact that he didn't clear the gun himself. To me, that's silly. Like, I wouldn't want an actor doing that either. That would be ridiculous. There'd be blanks flying everywhere. It would be a huge mess and it would take a lot of time. No, what I said was that the actor should be able to see that the gun is unloaded, and he should take that on himself to ask before he points it at a person.
Why would he ask when they told him it was cold when they gave it to him? What is he saying? Like, what is he supposed to say? Are you sure?
My point this whole time has been that no person who is a responsible gun owner and has been instilled the rules of gun safety.
You have psychotic. You repeated the rules again. Okay, I love you. It's been fun.
Okay, hold on.
There's plenty of antipsychotics. People prescribe them. Talk to somebody. You got it. I can't. I love you. Okay. I can't do it. I need to play League of Legends. I just want to play video games. But in my conversations, let's sim for my Nazi man. My conversations with Lauren Southern, I don't necessarily think Lauren Southern is insane. I just think we disagree on a lot, and there might even be some like premise that we should argue about factually. But I think that shown a deductive line of reasoning, I think Lauren will be forced to consider like, okay, yeah, this is probably true, or this might not be true, right? We might disagree on a premise, but her deductive faculty is still there. I don't know what he means by Destiny is insane, other than I disagree with him on things, but.
So much of the conversations I had with him were me trying to like reach out to him in some like weird Anakin, Obi-Wan, manner. I assume the brain rot hadn't totally consumed him by then, but
why is he trying to make himself sound like the fucking Pope here? What?
It absolutely had. I should have treated him the same way I would treat like an angry, like Tanky who came on, or just some utterly reprehensibly stupid person, and sort of condescendingly explained. Because
why do you say, like, I like how he acts like he's so like intellectually outpaced me. Condescendingly explain, bro, you didn't know anything about the Florida election that you tried to claim was like a result of fascism. You tried to say that Bush and Anton Scalia were fucking fascists.
Oh, but you should take issue with him calling Scalia and Bush fascists.
I do substantiate those positions. I need to reread the Scalia stuff. Bush, I think it's fairly.
How is Bush?
I do take exception to that. But I think that we can also recognize that there is a difference between identifying someone as holding personally in their own minds, right, or having expressed in their own words fascist beliefs, right, and people who are taking actions towards building fascism in the world. One is a much more nuanced conversation, much more complicated to be able to prove, right? And that's why I wouldn't be comfortable calling those specific people fascists. And
I'm really curious. Wait, how is Bush a fascist?
I'm still waiting to hear a policy that I've written off because it was fascist.
I want to hear how Bush. Wait, Peter,
I want to hear an answer to the first accusation.
I don't know.
Bush was like a free trade neocon. There was like
extrajudicial kidnappings. Bush literally had like extrajudicial kidnappings.
Extrajudicial kidnappings does not make you a fucking fascist. I just want to say that anybody would consider a fucking neocon a fascist is like, Jesus Christ. Like, what the fuck do these words even mean to you guys? Holy fuck.
Oh, we're happy to talk about it. I know you just come in here.
Everybody's special.
Are you that desperate for my attention?
No.
It's literally.
Are we debating semantics now? Is that everything that we're doing? Is just debating semantics, though?
It's
No,
not.
Prime, I haven't talked.
Okay, go ahead.
We're not just.
I just
debating
want to know what
semantics.
policy I've written off because it was like fascist coded.
We're not debating just semantics. I think Vaush is an incredibly intelligent individual, and I hold him in high regard. So when someone asks him, "Hey, who are the fascists in our country?" and he says, "Hey, who voted for Trump?" I think that's incredibly reductionist, and I think that holding Vaush to task for the words he said isn't just arguing over semantics. It's arguing over the ideas that are like pervasive all across the left, and it's disgusting. And it's the rhetoric that people on the right use to say, "Hey, everybody on the left is a communist," right? It's literally analogous, and it's lazy and it's disgusting.
Okay.
And when I'm involved in a conversation, I'm going to hold somebody to the words that they say, with the hope that Vaush will say, "You know what? That was actually an idiotic thing to say. Let's move forward."
So
Which statement specifically? Are we just talking about the definition of fascism here?
Vaush, but Vaush later on stated, right, so on specifically that point, right, when he made that after that, he's saying, well, less that they are all fascists, individually fascists, more that they are simply supporting a fascist, right? They are,
that's not what he said initially.
Then also said that makes them fascist.
I literally just said that.
Okay.
I just said that. He stated what GSU Gambit stated, but then he clarified later on that they are supporting a fascist, right? Not necessarily they are fascists, but they're supporting a fascist.
That doesn't disarm the previous statement.
Really quickly. I feel so. Hold on. First of all, while I don't think I've walked back anything like horrendous here, I do think that in the context of a 15-person debate panel, if I say, for example, how many fascists are there in America? How many people voted for Donald Trump? And then over the next 20 minutes, I explain why I actually think that action is more important than intent. I don't feel like that's walking back. I feel like that's just the way in which you add nuance to the kinds of statements that you have to make to interject in this environment. Now, in terms of whether or not are we talking about whether Bush is a fascist? In terms of whether or not we're talking. Sure, but
that's
hold on. First of all,
at least 20.
We have all here to an extent made statements that we have later walked back on or further enumerated upon. For example, Destiny has already made several statements that he refuses to even acknowledge when I ask him to follow up on because he knows he can't substantiate, such as suggesting that I have disavowed policies because they're fascist leaning without actually looking into the nuances of those policies. He isn't even talking about that now. So we're talking about the definition of fascism.
You're saying that everything is bad just because it might have some overlap with fascism. That would
I never said that. I never at any point said that.
But the thing was, when I tried to ask you for what is your definition of fascism, you did something that somebody does who doesn't understand a topic. You just tried to give me some examples.
When did you ask me for that? Wait, hold on.
When did I
didn't
ask you
me
to
for the definition of fascism? You asked me.
Anybody here raise their hand if they remember asking Vaush how to define fascism? Did you remember me asking that question?
So this is actually a question with a factual answer. You didn't ask me to define fascism. You asked me to determine how you would find a policy fascist, which is actually way more complicated.
Wait, so you
didn't
have
ask
a
me to define
consistent definition of fascism, but you can't tell me what makes a policy fascist?
I think that when you're looking at, and for reasons I already explained, if you recall, when you're talking about whether or not a policy is fascist, there are many nuances which can affect the extent to which I believe it would contribute to fascism. So I think deferring to example is preferable. That's why I talked about how protectionism can be progressive or fascist leaning, even if the text of the law is the same, depending on the context in which the law is passed.
Your very own definition there doesn't really work, though, because you say just by contributing to fascism, it might make a particular policy fascist. But a left-leaning person can implement a policy that absolutely contributes to fascism, but they don't have the intentions to, and it doesn't really take the intention in that direction.
Of course, but it's also possible that the context of that implementation could make it so that a policy which would otherwise contribute to fascism does not. There's a very big difference.
You see how the meta-narrative around this is so cancerous and toxic and a waste of time? Instead of ever actually talking about the policies themselves, they're going to.
Wait, you can't blame me for the toxic meta-narrative when you came in here and exacerbated it. You came in here and stirred the toxic meta-narrative. Now you're complaining about it.
I came in here and I dived into the toxic
answer all your questions, and when you don't have any more rebuttals, you come up with, isn't this conversation toxic? No, why do you have it?
No, that's not a rebuttal. That's my point. Is that coming in here just labeling stuff as fascist and bad is not a productive use of time.
I didn't label things as fascist and bad. We were having a conversation.
Hold on. Okay, it's happening. It's happening. We're moving.
Wait, hold on. The idea that saying there was funny business in Florida in 2000 with regards to the butterfly ballots is conspiratorial and unjustified is a hysterical claim that I'm not going to justify further. I feel like I've excluded.
That would be, if that was your claim, that would be a tremendous walkback. You didn't say there was some funny business. You started going on about the brother was the governor, and they clearly changed things, so they were trying to elect you. That is way different than funny business. You implied a conspiracy, much the same that Trump and the other Republicans do about the 2020 election. You're literally making the exact same claims on the other side.
The common position that the governor of Florida aided his brother in the presidency by doing an unjustified, like a ballot change that ended up specifically helping him is exactly the same as Donald Trump lying about the election. Did you not say? I'm sorry. This is, by the way, from the guy who was out there.
What you've just said so far, by the way, is ridiculous.
Carolina vote
what you've just said, by the way, is ridiculous. It wasn't just one person. It was an entire state legislature. It was a Florida Supreme Court and the actual Supreme Court.
Hold on, Vaush, let him go.
You argued that the North Carolina voter ID law is racist against people. Hold on, because it's comparable against people making the same arguments you're making now. Do you know what the people you argued with said? They said, this is conspiratorial. You can't actually say there was this intent here. Sure, there may have been motive and the outcome was very deliberate and there was evidence that they would have had a specific reason to have done it in the way that they did.
For the Bush case.
No, the North Carolina. No,
he's clear for North Carolina.
You are this is totally wrong.
Okay, shut up.
I wasn't even done, but I'm almost done. So far, you are making arguments.
Everyone, hold on. Don't worry. I'll help you out. Shut up for a second. We gotta have order. Look, I told you we should move to a private panel. You don't want to do that. Okay, fine.
I just like the idea that ultra progressive Destiny is saying the accusation that Bush and his brother like were responsible for like conspiratorially fixing the ballots.
I want to attack this point.
No, hold on.
No.
I just like that ultra. Hold on, I just like that ultra progressive Destiny, who definitely hasn't slid to the right in his fight against the lefties, is saying that is comparable
you're not
to.
You're not adding to the conversation. You know that.
All right, so I'm muting some people. Go ahead.
There's like 20 people open their mouths are so triggered by it.
I just have to respond to the North Carolina thing. Okay, because he does this. He drops a really bad claim, follows it up. Like, it's like the Rubio in the Democratic debate.
You made since you come on here, buddy.
This is the Vaush strategy. It's make you respond to the point and drop a bad analogy that doesn't fit and then make an ad hom to try to like win the debate and have like an optics win.
Trump big lie to Bush in 2020, and you want to impugn me for bad analogies? You're such a clown these days,
because the comparison... Are you okay? You sound actually so upset right now. I'm so sorry.
You came in here mad as fuck, and the smile doesn't fool anyone, by the way. I'm not mad. I just laugh really hard whenever I'm called out on my bad
argument. I love it because like there are some people in this world, like you and Fuentes. I think I'm legitimately the only people that piss you off. I actually wear that with pride. So, okay, when you say, well, you use these arguments for North Carolina, you imply that in North Carolina there was a conspiracy, and I'm implying it in Florida. Guess what? In Florida, the Supreme Court made a ruling on that, and there wasn't a conspiracy. As far as I'm aware, now I could be wrong, I have never been made aware of some broad conspiracy between Bush and his brother to rig that election. Now, when you talk about North Carolina, my understanding is that more or less a conspiracy had kind of been proved. The state legislature in North Carolina, and you should know this because you copy paste all of my opinions, so I know you've heard me say this exact line before. The North Carolina state legislature
literally, so I guess they're just mine now.
Literally specifically requested by race different voter data from different areas and then closed down every single thing.
Why were the butterfly ballots implemented?
If that was the case, why was anybody implementing anything around the coronavirus?
Why was anyone implementing? What a phenomenal rebuttal. Why specifically that incredibly strangely laid out, very different
why didn't the Supreme Court agree with you, Vaush? Why didn't the Supreme Court agree with you?
So now we return back to the previous argument, and I have to ask you, would you still be saying the North Carolina voter law was racist if the courts hadn't disagreed with it?
This is the same bad argument.
I'm assuming that the process is working to some extent. So if
your argument is legality determines whether or not something's anti-democratic.
No, that's not. It's determining what will happen. If there was footage, here's what you're doing. This is the equivalent of what you're doing. So let me just demonstrate this, right? Let's say that a man shoots somebody in cold blood, and there's 52 videos of it, and everybody sees it, and then the court says like, oh, he did it, and he gets locked in jail. And Vaush is saying, well, what if they would have decided something different? Well, it's hard to imagine that. I mean, if there was different evidence or something, then sure. You're telling me if the courts would have decided something different on the North Carolina case, or different in the Trump case, or different in the Bush v. Gore case, then would it be different? I don't know. Maybe if they're looking over different evidence or something, but we can all see like the evidence that they spoke about. So we can all read the argument. Hold on, let me finish. Okay, I'm specifically addressing the things you're specifically saying. Okay, the courts ruled it in a certain way. So right now the onus is on you to tell us, just like it is on the Republicans right now that think that Trump had the election stolen from them. The onus is on them to tell us why did all the judges get it wrong. The onus is on you to tell us, even with a one fascist Scalia, there were still 6 other Supreme Court justices that disagreed with you in the Bush v. Gore case. You need to tell us why they're wrong without alleging some vague conspiracy with zero evidence, which is the exact same thing that Trump and the rest of the Trumples do right now against our current system that said that he lost the election.
How could they have all agreed? Am I alleging conspiracy? No. I just think different people have different priorities and different ways of seeing the world. I am not in the heads of all of the Supreme Court judges back 21 years ago, so I can't specifically allege their intents. But the idea that I'm like out here in the blue making the claim that there was funny business back in Florida or that there was some conspiracy or deliberate intent to influence the vote is, well, it's very funny. And it's certainly not a position I would expect to come from a progressive or even a person willing to vote for Joe Biden, but it owned the left briefly. So we're never actually going...
Hold on, you can keep ad-homing over and over again. I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to finish with don't fuck arguments, okay? You have not given a single reason for why...
Okay, Vaush, you gotta let Destiny in. Vaush, letting Destiny in. Vaush, we're letting Destiny in.
It's okay.
Yeah, don't just cut him off if he starts ad-homing. It's really creepy. I don't know why he's like so obsessed with like making the personal attacks. If you are going to disagree with the courts and you're going to levy an extreme accusation, not only are these courts wrong, but I believe that Bush is fascist for this particular reason related to the courts being wrong. You better have a really good reason for why they were wrong, and you can't just say, well, I disagree with them. I think it was in a Twitter thread I read a long time ago, but I don't remember. That's all I'm saying. So in the future, maybe be like, I don't know how I feel about Bush. Instead of coming out here and so strongly asserting, oh, I'm pretty sure him and Scalia were fascists. Well, why? Well, because of the Florida stuff. Well, why?
I noticed he's referring to
I don't
other
really-
points now. This would be a gish gallop if you actually wanted to see it.
It's not a gish gallop. Okay, so
really
running every other like weird
same points.
Okay. These are the exact same points. Everyone here can hear the conversation. We're going around on the exact same points.
You're running back to earlier points because you ran away from this one.
I'm literally responding to exactly what you're talking about.
Election was like the result of election tampering is hardly a unique position. Because I'm not familiar with the Supreme Court documentation does not make my arguments less
hardly
salient.
unique among like less people on Twitter.
Your argument is
it was a common position.
Wait, hold on. Just to be clear, Destiny's position on this is literally, in order for you to allege conspiratorial intent, you need to tell me the exact motives of every judge who voted against it. So this is clearly not a counter position being taken in good faith. One being taken out.
Dude, there are so many other worlds. If I was the guy that could see the Avengers movie like 50 million other stories or whatever, there's like 49 million of them where you're just like a Trump saying all of these exact same arguments about how Trump was robbed of the election. I guess you'll never see that. I mean, peace guard.
So again, it's funny if you would accuse
every
me of
single of the
making
exact same arguments. All the Trump people make. It's the exact same arguments, word for word almost. Like you could copy paste these. You could control plus V these. The problem is that you are alleging a conspiracy, and for some reason, Vaush doesn't seem to understand the difference between saying something bad happened and something bad happened that was intentionally caused by a group of malicious actors. And this is exactly what Trump people do, is they try to play fast and loose with these two things so that they can prove everybody on the other side is a malicious actor. And it's just very strange, like Mott and Bailey. So you'll argue with somebody that says, like, for instance, like the WHO is an evil, horrible actor. And it's like, really? How do you know that? And it's like, well, they got this and this wrong. It's like, well, just because they got something wrong doesn't mean that they're being malicious on it. And it's the exact same here when we talk about the Florida recount or whether we talk about any other number of things we're talking about. Just because there might have been something that was fucked up or just because there might have been something that was wrong, there's a difference between saying something bad or wrong or dumb happened here versus going to the next level and saying there was a conspiracy here. That not
and
a
George Bush was in on it.
I'd like
and
first
not
of all,
a
I'd like to
conspiracy
address
like, oh my God, like a conspiracy theory, something's horrible, but a conspiracy like there was a plan by a group of people that got together in some way to circumvent the law or do something unlawful or evil or horrible. That is the original claim that you made that you have now acknowledged multiple times. We all thank you for it. You cannot substantiate it because you need to go back and read more or do whatever.
I can't actually prove intent like a mind reader.
So you want to say like prove intent by mind reader?
First of all, I'd like to acknowledge.
Vaush like preach for like 20 minutes. Okay, so I
would like to acknowledge that Destiny is backtracking here because initially
Vaush, you gotta let him in. Vaush, buddy. Sorry, gotta let him in.
Fuck. Okay, yeah, holy shit, because he railroads like a million points. Nobody is saying that intent has to be proved like a mind reader. Believe it or not, in the criminal justice system in the United States, we prove intent and shit all the time. And to my knowledge, I could be wrong, I don't believe we have any mind readers that work for the criminal justice system.
You don't prove intent.
So there are people that can infer intent, and they do it by more than just looking at a Twitter headline or more looking at something bad that happened and saying like, oh, well, there must have been some intentional
all the
mishap here.
anti-lefty talking points.
There might have been some bad ballot design, which I think most people acknowledge, but unless you can literally give us a shred of evidence that there was some tomfoolery or some conspiracy that was arranged here, it's probably best to just take the L and move on to the next point.
Unless we can find a better explanation for that, incompetence does not sufficiently describe that, okay?
It was designed by a Democrat. Incompetence is a valid description of that, because there's no evidence of the contrary. It's just delusion. It's just imagination land. You're just fucking imagining. You can't tell me if something was designed. For example, there has been Democrats have had gerrymandering fails in election before that actually were poorly designed and ended up benefiting Republicans. That doesn't mean the Democrats who designed that were secret Republican operatives working for George Bush, doing like fucking secret ops, working for the fucking Republicans to get them elected. It just means they screwed up.
You were factually wrong about everything related to Rittenhouse. You said he was shooting into a crowd, right?
The second shooting, he was literally laying on his ass, firing shots at people 20 feet away who weren't even moving towards him.
Hold on. Can somebody please link the video so that we can watch it? Have you watched that video?
I've watched, I think, that video, yeah.
Can somebody link the second video so that we can watch it together? Because I have no idea what the f we're talking about.
The last shot he fired was on this person who looks like he was running to his side. Definitely wasn't 20 feet away. I misremember that part.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying so hard because you're being so dishonest, okay?
How am I being dishonest? Wait, my standards here have been completely consistent. In both instances, I have said that if the person who is chasing initiates and the person who has the gun verbally...
Vaush, one of the guys chasing this guy literally has a pistol drawn. Come on, dude. You're really going to do this?
Yeah.
Really? You don't think that it's fair to assume
person
that
with the
tons of
pistol
people
hadn't
are chasing
fired?
you?
The person with the pistol hadn't fired. They were like right up close. It seems like that was more of an attempted apprehension than it was in murder. In fact, by the way, I just want to say, if you're running from someone or you fall down and you turn around and there's somebody pointing a pistol at you 2 feet in front of you and they haven't fired, I think that's more of an indication of non-lethal intent than it is lethal intent. That is,
Really?
honestly, on the part of the person with the pistol, probably a legitimate attempt at apprehending you than it is killing you. They could have
So
shot you
then
in the
you agree
back.
that when this guy was aiming his rifle at the other guy, then who raised his hands and backed away, or earlier when he killed that one dude and he didn't kill the other guy that showed up to do first aid to him, then he wasn't trying to be like lethal towards everyone as well? Would you grant that same thing to the defender here, the shooter?
I mean, no, because the shooter was the first person who killed a person, so it's reasonable for other people to consider him a threat. If you chase after a person who's being described as an active shooter with a pistol, you're not the one who's looking to go initiate. You're certainly not going to be considered a threat by the people around you.
Okay, I'm going to say this really slow for you, okay?
Mm-hmm. Patronize it.
If you, I'm trying, okay, as hard as I can. If you defend yourself in a morally justified way against somebody, okay? So don't say, I don't know if it was justified, again, for the third time, okay? If you defend yourself in a morally justified way, and then you retreat from that situation, and a mob is chasing you down, and it's possible that they'll kill you if they get their hands on you, do you think you're obligated to submit yourself to the mob?
I'm actually have to think about that. Generally, I think, yeah.
Like you're, just so you know, you're unironically arguing for like mob justice and lynching right now.
No, I'm arguing that an active shooter should lay their guns down.
He wasn't an active shooter. Half these people hadn't even seen him fire. The guy shot one time and he walked away.
You like the way that you're paraphrasing my argument of Abigail, you're just factually wrong in a lot of the shit you talk about. I don't understand why you think you would even be in a position to condescend to me. Like you're wrong about a lot of shit.
You got to record every police interaction, my friend. Now this cop is trained. Take a look at the cop. Look at this.
Oh, no.
See how the cop turns his chest away from where he's throwing that? That's because he doesn't want his body cam to pick it up. He turns his chest away from it. See? Chest facing that way.
Oh,
no. Happening this way. He knew. He has it on him. He just... Whoop, yep.
Have you ever taken anything in or out of a car before? Or maybe he's got servants that do it at this point, actually. Like, are we like fucking Gundams? Like, you've been watching too much JCS.
That's a little slippy.
Oh, apparently he realizes he's wrong on the same stream. All right, here we go. Uh-oh. Oh, this guy, I got King Jack and this guy's going all in. Fuck. Uh-oh.
Are you full stream?
Now the hypercritical eye comes out. King Jack off is not a very good hand, seven-handed. Fuck out of here. What?
What's what? What's what word?
Oh, he's like, now we're doing the forensic analysis. Wait, what happened?
What's what?
Look at the confused look.
That was when he leaned to the right when he threw the thing in?
Look at the confused look. You're telling me that he's leaning to throw something into a car? He's leaning. It's very interesting. That lean is very atypical. This is like the Tucker Carlson reaction camera. True. What? Who throws things into cars like that?
What's what word? I got you on camera. I got you on camera. We're all good.
What?
Hey, bro, you just threw that in here? Yeah, because it was in his pocket and I don't want to hold on to it. It's on their body cam that they took it off of him, so. Just threw that in here, bro. I got you on camera. I'm telling you where it came from.
Stop stuffing your fucking
It's an empty baggie at the moment, too, so.
Empty baggie!
So he did throw it in, but he's saying it was just some random thing that got dropped?
No, dog. What? Listen, he just said he took it out of the other dude's pocket.
I'm telling you where it came from, so. It's an empty baggie at the moment, too, so. Okay, buddy. I got specs green. You're good to search if you need to.
Oh, now we're super investigating. This is where you can see the ideological bias, right? Because on the other one, 14-second clip, cop, bastard, evil piece of shit. Now we got like a minute 30. Now it's like, oh, well, hold on, let me check all aspects. Hold on. I've got my $42,000 sound system here. I'm gonna crank the volume to see if I can hear anything in the peripherals here. Okay, hold on. Somebody pull the police report to the department. I want a history of this cop. Like, let me see. Now we have like the ultimate. Yeah, we go to the mind palace. Like, like now it's like, Jesus Christ.
You can see it's empty. Well, it doesn't really matter if it's empty, right? If the plastic bag has like any trace of drugs on it, then that can be used. Yeah.
Not a trace of drug. Oh no.
Like, could I have residue? Even if it's visually empty, it doesn't need to.
Actually, wait, I'm curious. Pisco, you're in chat. Could you get a conviction for traces of like cocaine? My understanding is that cocaine is an incredibly fine powder. Like if you did cocaine over the weekend, you're gonna be able to find a trace of it somewhere because it just like gets everywhere and it's incredibly fine. Let's say that you would go through somebody's backseat, you found a baggie and there was like a trace of cocaine, like a speck or some specks or whatever. Would you be able to push charges on that?
But he's holding the thing right there.
He's holding the.
What's what? What's what word? I got you on camera. I got you on camera. We're all good. Hey, bro, you just threw that in here. Yeah, because it was in his pocket and I don't want to hold on to it. It's on their body cam that they took it off of him, so. Just threw that in here, bro. I got you on camera. I'm telling you where it came from, so. It's an empty baggie at the moment, too, so. Okay, buddy.
Dude, the Tucker cam is so good here. Oh my God.
So they're looking at this one guy, and they took the baggie off of this guy, and then moved it into the car, I guess that could possibly have happened.
Now, before, it was 100%. The cop, before, it was, notice how the cop angled his body away because he knew what he was doing. He knew he was trying to make sure that it wasn't captured. He knew for a fact. But now it's like, okay, he said he got it off a friend. They did an internal investigation. They checked the body cam. Okay, maybe, you know, he said maybe they did it. Maybe, you know, that's what he's saying. Like, oh my God.
I got specks of green. You're good to search.
Specks of green, you're good to search. There's the bag.
Corner cut.
Yeah, Vaush literally said earlier that the cop was trained to turn his body.
What's what? What's what word?
It's so crazy how with only 14 seconds of footage to look at, we can very quickly come to a very confident conclusion, and we can start to extrapolate not only other behavior, but like training measures from that 14 seconds. But now we got a full minute and 30 of content. Well, now we need to, hold on, we need to rethink everything.
They're Destiny posters. Every fucking time, dude. Why does he keep reacting to breaking news? He keeps doing the same with the Rittenhouse he shot in a crowd. That has nothing to do with the situation here. Just repeat any like offhand point you have. So I don't know why like this is a thing that they've convinced themselves is like a valid argument, but it's okay to react to things as they happen. That's fine.
To be clear, Vaush didn't just react. He said, this is how they're trained. Notice how he intentionally turns his body to the side to hide it. If it was just a reaction like, oh, that's pretty shitty, we'll see what the next one, I wouldn't really have a problem.
Like, that's allowed? How do you know when all of the evidence is out? You never do.
Maybe we should wait for more than a 14-second video clip, maybe?
The information you have and you make comments on the things you do.
You weren't just making comments, though. He was extrapolating hard. What are you talking about?
A lot of the conversational dunks that he got on there were me trying to appeal to him and him turning it away. You can rewatch it. It'd be like, you know, well, don't you think this, that, or the other? And then he'll be like, no, you know, and then we'll go on from there. But that's because I wasn't really looking for the dunks. So I feel like if I'd been, you know, a little less blinded by a prior decade of perceived worthwhilleness, then maybe it could have gone a little bit better.
So if you don't mind me pushing back a little bit on that, do you, are you being hyperbolic when you say insane? Or are you saying more just that, describe a little bit about like why it is you would use the word insane?
No, I'm not being hyperbolic. I legitimately think that he's had some kind of mental break relating to his lefty arc over the past 2 years.
Okay, it's fine if you have that opinion that I am insane or I've had some sort of lefty break, but now you have to show it. Like, where is the breakdown in logic? What's something that I've said where it's like, okay, Destiny's just totally delusional here. He's just like, what he's saying isn't even component to reality. Like this, right? Are we going to demonstrate that at all? Are we going to show this at all? Or?
Of course, that's inference. I can never know that. But I've said that about people who have acted far more sane than him.
Yeah, but like, what is the insane behavior? I'm not trying to infer a state of mind. When you say insane, you're implying something external to my, like, you should be able to say like, oh, well, look, he said 1 + 1 is 3, right?
Say that much. Whatever standard I use to say a person's insane, I'm applying it consistently because people who've acted quite a bit more put together than him have gotten that condemnation from me. But no, it's really weird. There's actually a distinct change in his behavior. I was a fan of his for a decade. There's a distinct change in his behavior from how it is now to how it was before. Not just in terms of his priorities or political beliefs, but like a severe change in demeanor that if I cared about him, I would actually find quite concerning, you know? So, I mean, Godspeed to him. He'll probably be on the platform for a good long time to come. So it's not as though he's going to like vanish off the face of the earth or whatever. But yeah, we'll see if the derangement tones down.
I like how he said all of that and he didn't give an example of how I'm deranged. It's like he's turning into like every bad debater in my past. He's like, somehow he's devolved. Like rather than get more sophisticated or more intelligent, he's like regressing. I don't know how you could talk for so long and say so little.
We're completely done engaging with Destiny. This isn't some like pithy back and forth. I've said that before, but we're committing to it this time. In fact, I'm committing to it so hard that from now on, discussion of Destiny is banned both in the Reddit and in the Discord, which should significantly improve the quality of both of those social spaces, by the way. I'm sure that he and his community will throw a fit about this being some sort of cowardice or whatever, but man, because I have no intention of continuing to talk about this for like the next 5 years, let's just say it all right now, okay?